women make up a small number of pilots. Less than 6% of pilots worldwide are females. Not surprisingly, a Lebanese woman is among them. Rola Hoteit is the first and only female captain in Lebanon. She's also the regional vice president of International Federation of Airline Pilots Association. She has been selected as one of the top 100 influential Lebanese figures in the world. Does this position give you a greater responsibility toward your country?
Actually, every title a person holds gives a certain responsibility, like being a mother or being a daughter or being any employee. So what about if someone is an airline captain who is responsible for the passengers, for the safety of the flight as a whole? So definitely it gives me a certain responsibility towards myself, towards my country, and towards my passengers on the flight.
So how does it feel to make such a contribution to your society and to females in general?
Definitely, I feel proud. But the success is not only in being the only female pilot, it's being as a successful example so others would follow. So like I remained as the only female pilot for 22 years almost. And everybody would tell me, oh, you're lucky, you're the only one. And believe me, like I used to feel, well, definitely it's nice to feel unique and to feel that you are the only one. But at the same time, if I come and tell you that some company hired a female in any position and they never hired anybody else, the automatic response would be that maybe she failed and that's why they didn't hire others. So for me, the challenge was, and the responsibility was mainly to like give more, to make women more enthusiastic about applying into this field or even any other field. Well, I believe personally, I believe that when we are born as boys or girls, as babies, we're born equal. But the way we are brought up is what shapes our characters and shapes the way we look at others and others look at us. So for example, like when we are little, if a little girl falls, then she's allowed to cry. Whereas if a boy falls, you'd have his parents tell him, oh, you're a boy, boys don't cry, you're tough, you're strong. And even if there's something heavy, for example, they would always tell the girl, oh, let your brother carry it, you don't carry such stuff. And even the way they like orient us into education, we're more oriented into going into artistic stuff.
Right.
While men are mainly oriented to study mathematics and physics. But I believe like mentally, physically, even emotionally, we're almost the same. In fact, I believe that women have some extra
Definitely.
extra points than men. But still, like we are exactly the same. But it's the way we are brought up, the way the society looks at us, it makes us think differently. And this is why we have this gender gap or gender inequality.
So is there a gender pay gap when it comes to your profession?
Now, as a pilot, no, I get paid, my husband is a pilot as well, so I get paid exactly the same salary for doing the same job.
Okay.
However, in Lebanon, normally you have a certain family allowance which my husband gets and I don't get.
Do you think men have conceded to the notion that women are equal to them with respect to socioeconomic growth?
No, I think we're still way behind. We are having some change, and change takes a lot of time. Nothing happens. It's not a magical wand that things would just change, and it will take some time. But for the time being, I still believe that we live in a masculine universe all over the world. It's not only in our region. And the very, very simplest example, I know people would now just say what she's saying, but for example, all the prophets are men. How come we never had a female prophet?
To come to think of it.
Really, if you think everything, and even when we address God, we always address God as He. So you see, the terminology we use is always a masculine universe terminology. So I believe it will take some time before we, not before we get a female prophet, but before we start accepting the fact that men and women are exactly the same.
So you broke barriers for many women out there, especially Arab women. I mean, you set the way for them to dream big and to fly high up in the sky, right? Did you have a mentor growing up?
Did I have a
Did you have a mentor growing up?
A mentor?
Yeah.
Like a direct mentor? No, but definitely there's some family influence. Well, I was brought in a family, I had an older brother who died. So I believe like my parents, they always, I don't know if they wanted to replace my brother with me, I don't know, but like they never treated me like the girl in the family. And I always I was pushed into more masculine fields. And my mother was a math teacher, for example. And I always had to get 100 on the math test. Like
because of your mom?
Yeah, but like she would always push me into getting better at scientific topics, and which is normally in Lebanon, it's more a masculine thing, a boyish field to study math and physics. So I believe the way my parents looked at me, it made me see myself differently. Like I never categorized myself as a woman. I always saw myself just like a human being who could do anything.
So what is the most challenging part of being a female pilot?
Actually, the most challenging part is to be able to find the right compromise between the family, being a mother, and being a pilot. Because when it comes to other jobs, the time, the woman, when she goes to her job normally it's a routinely thing where she goes at around 9 in the morning and comes back in the afternoon. She's always there for her kids, and she can call them and check on them at any time. With aviation, it's different. It's completely different. Once I get on the flight, I'm totally disconnected.
So you're out of reach.
Exactly.
Completely.
So, for example, if my son is sick, I cannot just call and ask the doctor, how's my son doing? So this method of trying to separate between my family and my work at the two different moments was really difficult.
What do you think the biggest challenge for women out there, for women in general, in the Arab world?
Mainly it's to make men believe in them and to have the chance of getting the same opportunities that men can get. So I believe that the biggest challenge for women and for girls in our society is to make their parents and their society believe in them and to give them just equal opportunities and the same choices that their brothers or whatever have.
So your career as a pilot started from a message, a gender bias message. I'd like to know about that.
Well, it all started exactly as a challenge. And I was studying mathematics at the American University in Beirut. And one day, a friend of mine, he walks into the math department carrying a newspaper which had an ad saying that MEA is recruiting males and females as pilots. And he started to comment sarcastically on the ad. Like for him, he said, women can't even drive a car. If you buy a new washing machine, they don't know how to read a catalog. They don't know how to operate the washing machine. And they want to fly planes. This is ridiculous. And I was so angry.
You're provoked by it.
Exactly. And I was like, the whole time, you can't say this. Men and women are equal. And we're both studying the same major. We're both in the same, we're both at the same university, same classes. I'm getting better grades. So how come?
So you got mad.
And then I told him, you know what? Let's both sit for this entrance exam and see who will pass. And actually, the challenge was only to sit for the entrance exam. We sat for the entrance exam. And now, 25 years later, I'm flying planes and he's not. So
you got to your revenge,
exactly.
For sure.
So we can operate washing machines and we can fly planes.
We can do anything,
we can
right?
do everything.
So what happened next?
So I passed the entrance exam. And then the second challenge started, and that is to convince my father that I want to be a pilot.
Okay.
Actually, when I passed, we were 2,000 applicants, and only 9 passed. And I was the only female among the 9 who passed. And at that time, at the age of 18, I was so excited about traveling, seeing the world, and being the only female pilot. But then my father was against the idea 100%. In Lebanon, and the normal path for a girl is to go to school, maybe go to university, and then get married and have kids and have a family.
Yes.
So he was
That's
worried.
a normal path.
Exactly.
Yes.
So he was worried, who would accept to marry my daughter if she's a female captain and she's traveling and every night she's in a different country? It's not acceptable in this part of the world. So he was against it. He was worried that I might have some troubles in the future. he said, like, just finish your education, go for your master's in mathematics, go for PhD, do anything. Just finish
But
your
not-
education
not
and find a
aviation.
career which suits a normal woman in our society. Maybe a teacher, maybe a professor, I don't know what he had in mind. But then I insisted more, and he would never accept. So I dropped my courses at the American University in Beirut.
Okay.
I grabbed my stuff, I took a taxi, and I went back home, and I told my dad, you either send me to become a pilot to Scotland, or we had to go and study in Scotland, or you find me a husband now. Well, it wasn't easy to find a husband at that time.
At the moment.
So, exactly. So eventually he accepted, but he had certain conditions. Like he said, okay, I would accept, provided you would finish your BS in mathematics when you come
Okay.
back. And that's what I did actually.
And you did. You went. You went back.
But I got married before. So,
Oh, you got married before you graduated.
yes.
Okay.
So I studied aviation, I became a pilot, I got married, and I had my first child. I was pregnant with my first child when I went back to the university.
Oh.
I finished my BS in mathematics, and then I'm doing now my master's in philosophy.
Now.
Yes.
Okay.
I
So
finished the courses, I just
you're
have
still going
do
to
my-
school.
Yes. So I still have to do my thesis. I'm working on my thesis. And so I did what my dad asked for. I got married. I
Exactly.
found a husband who accepted to marry a female captain. And I have 2 kids. One is in Stanford now,
Oh wow.
and the other
Okay.
is in high school.
Have you experienced sexism?
Definitely. No. It's normal. Like you experience it anywhere. It doesn't have to be in your profession.
How did you deal with it?
Initially, like I started flying. I was 19 years old.
Okay.
It wasn't easy at first. So, like as long as you don't take it very personal, and you say that anyone would be sitting here, and anyone have to deal with this situation, and I have to deal the way I would consider a smart girl to. And that's how I started to be able to stand up and to face it. On a daily basis, actually, it's the challenge. And I find that the more I can accomplish, the more I can prove to the society that a woman can do anything, and especially a Middle Eastern woman. So this idea, actually, it haunts me. And that's why I had to go back to college. And that's why I went back to do my master's. And that's why I studied Greek, I studied piano, I started to learn how to play piano. Like,
Nice.
I believe the more I learn, the more I try to accomplish, the more I try to prove that women can do more and can do anything. And maybe I'll be able to open a new path for women in our society, as well as for the Western world in the way they perceive us.
So do you feel like your life is a challenge every day?
Yes, definitely. I believe that every person's life is a challenge, but he decides to take the challenge or not. And I believe that every person has to be always ready. And this is what I tell my kids. I tell them opportunities, they come in life at certain phases. And it's only those, not who are lucky, but it's those who are ready who can grab those opportunities. And the way to grab those opportunities is to take life as a challenge and to wait for that opportunity and to make sure that you're going to grab it. A human being is divided into 3 parts, the mind, the soul, and the body. And if you give 30%, 33% actually, of your effort and of your time to each one of these categories, I'm definitely sure that a person could evolve, like really evolve. Like if you give 1/3 of your time to your mind, 1/3 of your time to your soul, where it's doesn't necessarily have to be meditation, but by being nice, by being honest, by the certain qualities, the values and the ethics,
Absolutely.
and 30% to look after your body as well. Like, I don't believe we have to just ignore the fact that we are women and we have to be pretty look, really, we have
We
to
have
look
to
at
take
our-
care of ourselves.
Exactly.
Yes. So what is the most crucial step that you had to take in order for you to get where you are today?
Definitely, I was scared at certain moments, especially that when we have to go and study aviation, we do not pay for the tuition. What we do instead is that our parents, like my dad, had to put our house as a collateral. And if I fail, the company would take my parents' house. So that wasn't an easy
That must have been
thing to
scary.
do, really. And the responsibility was really huge. And I knew that if I failed, that this would happen. That's not a joke.
So that gave you a push.
Exactly.
Yes.
So my dad, he had to go all for it, just like, so I was
He wanted
scared.
to make sure he doesn't want to lose his house for sure.
normally
Really?
passengers, they all get excited about the idea. Oh, the captain is a woman. Like this excitement could be translated into several aspects. It could be fear, it could be lack of trust, and it could be really admiration. But in one incident, I had a passenger who decided to leave the plane. So he told the cabin crew that he's having some heart issues and he doesn't feel good. And he wants to offload, he wants to leave the flight. And after he left, like when he was leaving the plane, a security guy who was standing at the door, he told him, do you want me to call you an ambulance or to call a doctor or something? He said, no, I'm fine. But you know what, I'm going as a tourist and I'm traveling today and the captain is a woman. So there's nothing urgent, like I can go tomorrow instead of going tomorrow. At least the captain would be a man and not a female. So we're ready to move?
Yes.
Yeah.
I am ready to go with you.
So we're going to go a little bit out and then turn and come back to land.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so after flying as a co-pilot and doing many training and many exams, you cannot like believe how many. And then eventually I became a captain and I had to operate my first flight, which was from Beirut to Amman.
Okay.
Now, normally a co-pilot sits on the right and the captain sits on the left. And you're used always, if you have any problems, to turn around and ask the captain, Captain, what do I do? You know, there's always someone which you, when you feel that you don't know what to do, there's always somebody there in the cockpit.
And you turn this way, now
Exactly.
you turn this way, there's
Exactly,
nobody.
now you have nobody there, that's it. So on the way to Amman, it was a bit, it was like, there was not fear, but it was more of you could feel the responsibility.
Sure.
So on the way from Beirut to Amman, I could feel like, I was like, oh my God, I'm the only one. Everybody would come and ask me if anything goes wrong. But then after I landed in Amman and on the way back, like everything kicked back in.
So the first landing, you landed safely and it felt good.
Definitely.
Okay, so if we want to talk about technical stuff.
So we're going to turn,
Okay.
okay.
What are the most important buttons right here?
Actually, the most important thing for the plane is to have the wings and the tail. That's
Sure,
like, this is what, exactly, the flight
Yes.
controls. And then normally, now we have the autopilot, okay? I've just said the autopilot. And now I'm flying, I'm just giving order for the autopilot to do what it has to do, like what I ask it to do.
Okay.
And, وين رايحين نحن؟ Okay. خلينا نروح هيك. Okay. And then, if anything goes wrong, the pilot has to take over.
Okay.
And we fly with the joystick. So the other planes, they have the yoke.
Okay.
With Airbus, we have a joystick. So what we use normally is the joystick, the power, to open and close power, and the pedals for the tail.
So what is in case of emergency,
Okay.
what do you push first?
It depends on the kind of emergency. Like if you have seen after takeoff, Fadi gave us an engine fire.
Okay.
And here it wrote engine fire. And it tells us what to do. So it said that just shut the engine down because it's on fire. And there's the fire push button which we push, and like we did all the procedure.
Okay.
Now Fadi took the autopilot off.
Okay.
Hold the stick. Now, okay. Now you're going to turn right. To turn right, just go.
I'm going to turn right
Yes.
now.
Look outside.
Oh my God! No!
That's enough.
it's
Not too much.
Okay.
Exactly. That's it.
I mean,
You
this
see?
is too
So now
much.
we're going to turn.
Okay, I'm turning back slowly.
Exactly.
It's like when you ride a boat, you can't just turn it anything.
Exactly. So let's. But you're overturning now.
Dual input.
So you see now I took control, so it says dual
So
input.
you have to be really patient too, right?
You have to be very gentle.
Very gentle.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you can turn left if you want
Okay,
now.
okay.
Left,
Am I
left,
doing
left,
okay
left,
so
left,
far?
left, left, left.
Like
More
go-
left, more left, more left.
Okay. The question that you made headlines when you landed the plane safely
Yeah.
at the London Heathrow Airport. Tell us about this.
So actually, normally, Mishada, the wind is a variable. So at times you would be able to land, and other planes would not be able to.
Okay.
So it's two things. It's more than two things. It's several things. One of them is the type of the plane. If it's a big plane, yeah, we're overflying
Okay.
Beirut now.
We're flying over Beirut.
Yes, we're going to go to the right runway.
Okay.
So it's the type of the plane and the limitation for that plane. It's also the weather which changes. It's continuously changing. And it's the limitation of the pilot himself. So when I went to London, maybe when I was doing the approach, the wind, maybe it was much less than the plane ahead of me or the plane behind me.
Okay.
But believe me, the whole time I was just telling the co-pilot, I might just go around if I find that, we cannot land. So, but luckily we were able to land. So now do you see that we are aligned with the runway?
Aren't you too low? I mean, or
No,
this is
if you
the
look
way-
outside, you see 2 red, 2 white. You see the 2 reds, 2 whites,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
this means that we are fine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Now it's 3 reds, so now we're low a bit.
And then you're studied now, right?
Yeah.
Or, okay.
Now we're going, now we're descending.
You are understanding.
So we're about to
100,
land.
50, 40, 30, 20, retard, 10, 5,
ما في motion. Normally you would feel the wheels going down.
I can feel the motion now.
No, you would feel dizzy. It's not the motion you're feeling.
Yeah, it's yeah.
We reached Palace.
Okay. So,
yeah.
What were you saying?
So yeah, so I was telling you about the London landing.
Yeah.
That there are several variables that play when you land at any airport. So in London, it was a very strong wind. And you know that the wind, when it blows, it doesn't blow like all the time. It would blow and then it would subside, then it would go up. It depends. So while we were approaching the limit of the wind, like our limitation, we were within the limitation of the plane and our limitation as pilots and all of that.
Okay.
So, and still, the option of not landing is always there. It's our number one option. The option 2 is to land, because we always have to be safe. So, like people with, some of the comments that I heard is that she took some uncalculated risk and she landed while others didn't land.
Okay. Were you
And
scared of that though? I mean,
scared, and it's not fear as much as there's a certain, I don't know what we call it, like
is it
definitely
your
you'd feel.
instinct somehow? Your instinct also?
Definitely, it has to do with it. It's instinct, it's intuition, it's a science after all. Like your brain has to be working the whole time, and you would see that are you within the limits or not. And like as I was telling you, some of the people said that she took some risk, like she risked our lives on the flight. Well, this is not true. We take risks when we fly. Actually, anytime you leave the house, you're taking risks. But the risk we take as pilots is called calculated risk. Like we know what we are doing. We're not going to risk anybody's life. And it happened, I landed.
And you became a hero.
Yes.